Hello, 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 hello. Here we are again on the LaRuelist Café. And just as I say every show, I'm going to say it again. We have some amazing guests for you tonight. And we thank you so much for signing on and joining us. You know what? When we think about the South, we think about Georgia, Mississippi, and Florida, and places like that. But when I think about the South, most of you know that I now call myself a Trentonian. I guess I'm a Trentonian. Some days I am, and some days I'm not. Today I'm a Trentonian. But I tell you where my heart is. I am a South Jersey girl. And today we have what I call the blue women of the South. Those who don't know their colors, the blue is for the Democrats and the red's for the Republicans. So tonight we have the blue women of the South, and I am so excited about their coming on. And let me tell you something. These are legislators, a senator, and 3 assembly people. And if you think South Jersey does not have it going on, by the time this show is over today, you will know exactly how bad behind we are. I almost said the word. I decided not to. So we're going to start with our senator. And from what I understand, the senator, Nilsa Cruz Perez, little birdie told me, and you can unmute yourself right now, madam. Little birdie told me, are you the first Latina female to serve in the New Jersey legislature?
I was in 1995. I was appointed to fulfill a vacancy when Senator Rand died. Assemblyman Win Bryan at the time became the senator, and I took the assembly position in 1995, becoming the first Hispanic ever be appointed, and then elected the same year to the position. So
I love it. Well, we thank you so much for coming on to LaRuelist Café tonight, and I know we have some amazing things that we're going to talk about with you.
I'm delighted and glad to be in your show and your cafe. It's always good to see you. I'm hoping that everybody's doing great. I'm praying for everybody in these difficult times, but it's always a pleasure to see you. You are one of my role models. So,
oh, thank you. I think you just called me old, but I'll take it. I'll take it. Next week, I'm going to be 70 years old.
Not at all. It's that you have been so dynamic and so instrumental in New Jersey that everybody knows you. The moment I got to New Jersey, your name was among the first name that I learned in New Jersey.
Thank you so much. Well, you know, and we want to talk with you a little later about your military background and different things that you have gone through. So we're just so happy to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be in the show.
Carol Murphy, Madam Assemblywoman, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on here tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me. You know, last time we spoke on a panel together, I think it was the AFL-CIO, the women's, the Wild. Remember that?
Oh, do I ever? In fact, I was telling your chief of staff about it. I said, look, this woman has it going on. You were magnificent.
Well, so were you. And I am so thrilled that you do this. I'm going to have to tune in more I didn't realize you did this. This is great.
Oh, I do a couple shows a week and I have fun with it. I'm really excited about having the 4 of you on here tonight, though. This is a different kind of panel. And I think that our viewers are going to learn a lot about issues that are before them right now, since we are restarting and recovering.
That's right. And I would be remiss as a animal protector. How is your dog doing? Because I know
my little Jackson.
Right. How is Jackson doing?
Jackson's doing great. And you know, it's funny because just before the show came on, I was looking in the top of his head and I said, oh my God. I said, he's bleeding on the top of his head because it was all red. Yeah, and my granddaughter said, Mimi, that's where you kissed him. I said, oh. I said, oh, all right. Everything, all is well with the world.
That's good.
Thank you for coming on. We're going to bring you back. I do want to talk about your election, how you got involved in politics. Absolutely. I want our folks to know that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mommy, Madam Mosquera, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you, Janine, for inviting me to participate in this show. It's an honor, and doing well considering this craziness that we live in the COVID world today.
Yeah. Yeah, and you had 2 little ones, right?
Yes, I do. I am a proud mother of 2 little beautiful girls and toddlers. So I have toddlers on my hands.
Well, I literally watched them growing with you inside of you. And then the big announcement when they came here. I love social media. And I'm just so honored that you would come on here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I look forward to a great conversation.
Pamela, Madam Assemblywoman Lampitt, how are you? Uh-oh, she's muted.
Oh, hello, Janine.
Hi there. How are you?
I am crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
A lot going on, right?
It's been wild. It's been juggling. Everybody knows I have a full-time job, and working at a university right now is very challenging, and and conducting Zoom meetings, and juggling, and talk to my superintendents down here in South Jersey today, and they asked. I said to them, "I'm listening. What do you need? What do you want?" All they really wanted was to be heard. They wanted respect, and I'm going, gosh, that's the easy. You should be able to get that. You should be able to hear news before news is news and things like this. But we'll get into that. But I'm so happy you invited us.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
Are you kidding?
I'm glad that you're here. We're family, right?
We are definitely family. And so that the other guests and our viewers know, my grandson, I keep saying that you were the other mother that helped him get through University of Penn.
I was.
I don't know what we would have done without you.
I was his rock for many years and was really happy to do it. And he's so brilliant, and he's just so wonderful. And
thank you. Well, you're getting him back. He's moving into an apartment next week in Philadelphia.
Oh, outrageous! Oh, I'm so excited.
Yes.
I didn't know that. He's done.
Yeah, but he's still at Viacom.
Good.
You get your son back.
I am.
So I'm going to bring all of your colleagues back to the stream, and let's talk about it. I think, Gabriella, we lost you a little bit.
No, she's
there. You are. First thing I want to do is, Nilsa, tell us about your committee assignments. What is it that you actually are involved in? I know you're on the budget committee.
I am on the budget committee. I also the chairwoman of the economic growth committee in the Senate. I am the vice chair of military and veterans affairs, and I'm members of the joint housing committee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I have 4 committees. Like I told you, I was the chairman of economic growth, Veterans Affairs, Budget, and a joint committee on housing issues.
And with the, because we're going to get into the budget, I think all of you serve on either the Budget or Appropriations Committee. And that impresses me because years ago, when I started out as a lobbyist, I started in this business 82. And you just didn't see women on the committees that dealt with money. And I'm really glad to see that our women legislators are in true leadership now, and you're dealing with the money part. Now, you are a vet yourself, aren't you, Senator?
Yeah, right after college, I joined in the military. I come from a military family. My father served in the military, and he didn't have any boys. So he was thrilled when I told him right after college that I was going to join in the military. So I served from 81 to 87 in the U.S. Army. I was stationed in different locations. New Jersey was my first base where I took basic training. So that was my first time in New Jersey, in Fort Dix, New Jersey. And then I went to South Carolina for a little bit. And then I was most of the time I was in Germany. I was in Germany until 87. And then I came back to the States.
Wow. Well, thank you for your service. I come from a military family. I actually tried to get, I'm a twin. So my twin and I are going to be 70 next week. And he still jokes me because I tried to get into the military, but back then they had a height requirement and I could not pass the height requirement. So I cried for 2 weeks. He got in and I didn't. But
actually, something funny, when I went to the recruiter, he said I was like 105 pounds, 5'6" and 100. He said, you need to be at least 110. I need you to go home, ice cream, cake. So when I was telling my mom, I have to eat ice cream and cake, she thought I was joking. No, I needed to put on weight so I can actually have the perfect weight to be in the military.
Absolutely.
So I do believe about the height.
So Assemblywoman Lampitt, you chair a committee. Tell us about that.
Well, right now I'm chairing education. Prior to that, I chaired women and children until Gabby took it over. And prior to that, I chaired higher education. And, the advice that the really great speaker, Joe Roberts, had told me when I came in, he said, know what you know and do it well. So, I knew higher education and I knew education. And it seemed to, evolve from there in terms of being able to be in a leadership role, taking on a committee. I think people think it's easy because you have an aide and you have support and things like this, but it's really not. You have to juggle a lot of priorities, a lot of personalities, and it's not. I believe that education is the core of our belief system here in the United States and certainly here in New Jersey. And chairing this committee is a really large responsibility, and I take it extremely seriously. And here we are with COVID and our children being challenged up and down the state to learn virtually. Some of our children, over 5,000 during this period of time, did not have internet access, did not have an electronic device to be able to learn. They were cut off from the world, and their educational path has been set back, and that just can't happen. I mean, it just cannot happen here in the United States, cannot happen here in New Jersey. And those are the sort of things that keep me up at night and make me work a lot harder to advocate for those who don't have the means to be able to advocate for themselves. Education is the means to everybody's future, be it that you go into the trades, or be it you go further into your family business, or be it that you go into higher education of some sort of field. Knowing the basics of our history and knowing just the foundation is just so vital. That's why New Jersey is successful. We attract a lot of companies here because we do a fantastic job of our educational system, and we have a strong belief system about it. So it's hard to stay on top, but we're going to continue to keep on pushing so that we stay in that position. We want people to come to New Jersey for the quality of life. We want them to come for education. We want them to come because, we embrace the diversity that is the rich basis of South Jersey.
Well, one of the things, and I'm going to bring your colleague on who has the committee that you had before, because I want to talk more about what's happening with our kids and during this pandemic. Yeah. My youngest grandchild graduated last Friday, and it was bittersweet what has happened to these kids during this pandemic. I mean, here we had, I don't know what that crackling sound is, but here we had all of us were on a Zoom meeting saying to my grandson, congratulations, but we wish we could have done it a different way. So I guess the crackling actually came from me. So Gabby, if you could, Assemblywoman Mosquera, if you could tell us, you're in charge of the Women and Children Committee, and I know today you had a hearing dealing with children's issues as they relate to COVID. Tell us about that.
So today we had a very important discussion. Actually, it was a two-part discussion. One part was talking about the effects of child care centers across the state.
Gabby, I think you're muted, honey.
No, I hear her, but it's she said it's up as loud as she can take it.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me? So I guess we talked about the issues of the daycare centers and how if the daycare centers are ready and able to handle children coming back to their centers and as people go back to work, there is a dire need for the centers to get some type of assistance, especially funding, because a lot of these centers are facing bankruptcy, are facing closures before the end of this year. So this COVID situation has turned our state upside down, and it is frustrating to know that daycares, just the issue about affordability of daycares in the state of New Jersey has been on thin ice anyway. It's been it's a complicated issue, but now with added COVID on top of all this, they are basically struggling right now. So at this point, we are looking to find ways on how to help them in an immediate way to keep them solvent, to address this issue. It's not going to be as easy. And I know that, we're going to need a lot of, brains to figure this out, but we are willing and able to help. And that's what our job is here as elected officials. And not that I'm speaking for any of my colleagues, but I know that we are able and willing to help our residents, and especially to keep small business afloat, especially these daycare centers that need the help. And also, just to add, the effects on this COVID on children themselves, dealing with mental health issues, which Assemblywoman Lampitt touched upon earlier, and also just how this COVID affects them personally in terms of like the rashes, how it appears. Because when this first came out, really nobody knows how it affected people. We saw that it affected older individuals, and then we were very shocked to learn that it actually can affect children. In the state of New Jersey, we have about over 40 cases right now of kids being affected with COVID-19, and it is scary, especially for me, who is a mother of two toddlers. And I can tell you that my children have not been out in public whatsoever. And this is a big issue because of a lot of parents have kept their children home. Parents have not been able to go to the doctor's office to get their children vaccinated. So that's also an issue that was brought to our attention. And I can tell you that even was in my case. I was so scared to take my daughter out that she was behind in her vaccines, but luckily I was able to call the doctor and waited until everything was okay to make sure that she was out, that she can go out. Because it's one thing that if an adult gets it, but it's a whole different issue if a child gets it. And it's very scary. So those are the two topics that we talked about in our committee today.
Wow. And I never thought about the fact that you said that your daughters have not been out at all during this time. And that's fascinating to me. What about you, Carol? I mean, how are you working back into society as far as
COVID-19?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I've stopped working. I've been going in my office. I've been there at least 2 to 3 times a week. Even for the most part has been working from home. I intend on having my staff come back in and we're close to the public. Hopefully by July 6th. Our offices are definitely really because member of my staff has an office, and we have such a big office because I took over Diane Allen's old office, and she had a fantastic office. So we have enough room to be socially distanced. I bought gloves and masks and things of that nature to have in the office. And if for some reason that it doesn't work out, my staff is, I want them to be comfortable and safe. So I think for the most part, we will be. And of course, we're close to the public. So actually, we've been doing very well. My staff is very dedicated, so they've been working from home. So as we move forward, of course, not stopping like none of us have, making sure that we continue doing the work that is needed for our residents. So I'm very proud to say that we here in South Jersey has been doing a great job to make sure South Jerseyans are all taken care of during this.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And your constituent work, that's still going on as usual?
Yep. Dalen in my office, Dalen Hackley, he just started with me in November of last year. And let me tell you, such a powerhouse. I've given him all of the unemployment claims. And this young kid graduated college last year, lives in Sicklerville. And let me tell you, such a powerhouse of a kid who I've gotten so many compliments on how well he's doing that I've even got people from out of the district who have come to, and he's been right there to help them. So he is such a great kid to be out there because he's so nice and he calms people. So I'm very lucky to have somebody who can do that for my constituents.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about, you're vice chair of Judiciary. What is before your committee right now?
So actually, we just had, which was very thrilling to me because I like the things like this. We had just partnered up with Law and Public Safety, and we had a hearing on justice as it relates to our prison systems. And the fact about how a lot of our prisons are and inmates and bringing me outside and the officers and all of that, how they're dealing with COVID-19 and how, it isn't exactly, hasn't exactly been dealt with the best way possible. And, we're still doing our initial looking into a lot of these stuff that does need to be changed. But I have to tell you that as we move forward, working with the Commissioner Hicks and with all the other people, we're making sure that our inmates get the best possible care, and that especially our juvenile inmates are not being separated, because apparently there has been issues with our juvenile inmates being separated from the general population when they're feeling sick and they're putting in isolation. And if we're, when we start talking about the mental health issue, that in itself has created such a hardship for parents to listen to the fact that, their kids are in juvenile detention, but they're being isolated. They can't talk to them. They don't get visitations. And it's almost as if they're being segregated out of socialization. And, and we all know what isolation does for somebody in a mental health issue. But when we have kids and adults who are being separated under normal conditions in hardship, that's even more of a crisis for them. And then ultimately it becomes a crisis for us, because now, while our parents who are our constituents, we have to make sure that they're able to see their children. And, that's just a whole big issue all itself. So we had a hearing on that with Law and Public Safety, heard a lot of testimony, had many ideas for legislation and funding issues, as we get into the budget and sitting on the Budget Committee, which I have to say I love. Those are issues that we have to start addressing, is that making sure that our our prison systems and our reentry programs and all of that has enough funding in the programs, our ability to continue to go forward, because that is so important. And we're seeing it even now, because I think this COVID-19 just threw everything for a loop and made us all realize how susceptible we are to be in close in danger of losing everything if we don't handle this correctly. So those are some of the things that we in Judiciary have been handling. And as you know, we got a new chairman, Raj Mukherjee, wonderful attorney, and he's bringing a lot to the table. So yeah, we have a lot of good folks on the committee that is ready and aiming to start doing some stuff.
Well, you know, and I hear you say that you really love serving on budget, and we're going to get to the budget issue at the end of the program. That might be the food fight time. Because I tell you, this is going to be a tough year for all of you. But talking about the prison systems and mental health and juvenile, all of that, I just hope that we are prepared as we're looking at this restart and recovery, that COVID may be flattened, the curve is flattened, and we're moving to another level phase with that. But these issues that you're discussing, those issues, I hope we're ready, because it is going to be a monster of a job for us in helping resolve those issues when we get to it.
Absolutely. And you know what? One of my bills that passed last year was the commission and task force on juvenile detention and understanding life sentences. And actually a little bit of movement happened in that. We're trying to get that moving. And you know, I reached out to a friend and a former colleague who I made a recommendation for her to sit on this, Barbara Wallace, and Gabby knows Barbara very well. That's how I got to know Barbara, to sit on this task force, because we need to get this moving to understand exactly what our juvenile correction facilities are doing, what we need to do, and how does these lifelong sentences, or even any type of incarceration for charges and for prison sentences that don't even match up to the crime. And that is basically, if you have someone, you know, if a kid gets caught in, you know, taking, you know, let's say marijuana, they have some marijuana, sometimes they get put into situations in jail that they don't deserve to be there. So there has to be another way that would provide the ability for us to be able to show those kids and give them a chance to learn and to rehabilitate, and not just say, hey, we made a mistake. And sometimes kids who make mistakes don't deserve the punishment that they get. And that leads, and I know we're going to get into a lot of other stuff, but that leads to another bill that we put in just recently. I worked with the MAVA, that would allow kids who have minor fractions of law be able to go into the youth academy through Fort Dix. And I have to tell you, that program in itself, I got into that a little bit before COVID-19 had all come about. But from there, I hope we can start highlighting, so we give kids half the chance to not fall into the trap of their environment, not to fall into the trap of the economic sociologies that they have, and, you know, or lacking. And I think it's a good idea that we give every kid a fair chance to succeed, because they are our future, and we have to start doing what they need 20 years from now, not what they need tomorrow.
It's a good point. Good point. Senator, I'm going to ask you, because I know you're dealing with the whole issue of these businesses, and a lot of the small businesses have been so severely impacted. In fact, I'm even wondering how many of them have gone away forever. What are you finding in your district?
Well, not on my district. As a chairwoman of economic growth, we have put early on April, we were working on bills to help a small business facing the challenge that COVID-19 will bring. We passed legislation, and it was signed to put $50 million into the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, as we know it as New Jersey EDA. And it was on phase, that program was on phase. The first $5 million were offense on phase one. We just did the second phase, $45 million to help the small businesses. survive during this pandemic. But I've been called by many businesses, including daycares, Gabby, that they're not going to be able to reopen, that they're not going to be able to survive. They can't come up, with money to pay their workers and to keep it open and to provide all the safety measures. They won't be able to survive with the minimum amount of people that they can actually hold in their facilities. So it's going to be a challenging times. New Jersey EDA, though, had some programs, and we did webinars with Tim Sullivan from New Jersey, CEO of New Jersey EDA, hoping that the people will know that this money, it was first come, first base. It's not there forever. The application opened, the second phase of this $50 million opened in June 9th. That was the only day that it was open, and it was going to be only open until that money run out. So a lot of people took advantage. We did a lot of webinars. We were hoping that the small businesses will take advantage of applying. They have to apply and qualify. This was a grant, wasn't going to be a loan, but I encourage the small businesses to go into the site of New Jersey EDA and find out if they have programs and if they qualify for those programs and if they qualify for these loan programs. I already know of around 4 or 5 businesses that already told me we're not going to reopen. We can't reopen. We can make up, we can't come back of half of the people that we're supposed to have inside with the limitations. They say they can survive. And I'm hoping, and it's going to be challenging. Gabby, one thing I learned, and by personal experience, I'm a grandmother. My son, who paid already for the summer program back in March, they're telling him they're not going to reopen. They have called many locations, and this is here in New Jersey. They have called many locations, and they're telling them we are not going to reopen for the summer. We don't know what we're going to do in September. And they have no place to send the kids. They are required to go back to work, but there's no place to send the kids. So I'm hoping that we can come up with a solution to help those parents who are not going to find a daycare to put their kids during the summer, or to be able to put the kids so they can go back to work. So that's a challenge that our businesses are going to be facing, and the parents that are already required to come back to work. There's no daycare. So we have a situation. But I encourage people, especially the small businesses, please go into the New Jersey EDA site and keep looking. Some of these programs are already exhausted the amount of money, but more money will come, hoping that we can continue to help those businesses. With the daycares, we need to come up with a solution, and we might probably have to do something very fast, very quickly, because I don't see how people can return to work when they don't have a place to put their kids during the summer, and who knows if we're talking about September.
Gabby, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, the senator really basically highlighted exactly the problem that we're having when it comes to daycare centers, and as people go back to work, that the issue is that there are not going to be any, and that is going to be affecting the way families do their everyday routine. There's going to be so families are going to be forced to figure out if they have to take leave, or they have to quit a job or something in order to take care of their child. So the issue is, I guess, trying to be just efficient in time, is like there are going to be a really tough choices that families have to make if the child care centers are not available to these families, because these child care centers are essential. That's something that that was stressed very well throughout the meeting today, was that these child care centers are extremely essential to families, to the economy of our state. And if they can't survive, and if they're no longer around, parents cannot go back to work. They're both mutually needed. So I know that
we lost Gabby, but let me echo to what Gabby was saying. Most of the business that I talked about, I'm sorry, Gabby's back. Go ahead, Gabby.
No, what I'm saying is that, our health is, what we've been hearing is that, this is a very important economic health issue. And so we have to do something for daycare centers. This is something that can't be ignored. And I'm glad to hear that when there have been task force and discussions around when, the strategy to reopen the state that has been at the forefront. So I'm glad to hear that the discussion of daycare centers and trying to find out how we can help them has been something talked about. Now it's time to address the issue and dive into it and figure this out.
Well, the other part of daycare is not just the fact of having money to finance them, but then you also have to have the structure so that you're keeping everybody safe. You're keeping the children safe and the teachers safe. I mean, the social distancing, that's not going to go away.
And that's some of the challenge that they have been talking to me about it, saying we're only going to have certain amount of capacity. I won't be able to pay everybody that I have in payroll. I don't know if I can keep these kids safe or apart, or I can keep the social distance. And it's a combination of, I don't think I can survive financially because now I'm going to have to operate with a limited amount of kids or amount of people or amount of customers coming into the place. But on top of that, I'm afraid that I will be liable. That's another thing that came in front of me. Am I going to be liable if somebody come over here and someone else and they get COVID-19? Am I going to be liable for that? So it's a whole bunch of questions that we need to answer and reassure people. A lot of businesses are actually making people sign when you go for any type of services or you're going inside. The campgrounds are doing it, and different places, different business, where you have to sign a waiver saying you're going at your own risk and you're not making them liable. They're actually making people sign in an affidavit or a form that say we're not liable if you get sick in here.
So I don't even want to see the insurance reforms that are going to come down the pike based upon this.
We're facing this COVID-19 has turned everything upside down. It definitely created a crisis. I feel that a lot of people, because they can't find a daycare to send their kids, are going to continue to be collecting unemployment. So we will have to address that, and we will have to come up with solutions to help our families in these difficult times.
Yeah. I'm going to bring your colleague Pam back on. I'd like to want to talk with you about what's going on with our schools. Are these kids going to be able to go back into their classrooms in September, madam?
If you were to ask me, I would say no. I would say that, many of our schools were busting at the seams already. If students have to be 6 feet apart, there's not enough space for the students. I'm just overall concerned because look at Texas, look at Florida, look at what's happening right now. We need a vaccine.
Right.
For us to go back to a way of life that we knew prior to COVID-19, we need a vaccine. And we are, our health is at risk. I heard about the veterans home up in Massachusetts that was totally mismanaged, and 92 veterans have died due to mismanagement. I'm very concerned. Let me just say, I am very, very concerned that, we will put our children into our schools, and be it daycares, be it elementary schools, high schools, colleges, and the next wave will happen to us here. Not because we weren't trying to do the right thing, not because we weren't taking the right safety measures, because we've been doing that here in New Jersey.
We have been, yes.
We now have heard the fact that the borders are going to be monitored, for people coming in from out of state.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't stop everybody. And we all need to be due diligent about this. It's about wearing your masks. It's about cleaning. It's about not touching your face. It's about cleaning. It's about cleaning. It's about cleaning. And so I'm very concerned. I spoke to my superintendents from Camden County today. We had a Zoom meeting. And, between, Department of Health issues and testing and just general school-related funding, they're very concerned. If they have to increase their budget so significantly, for just the cleaning part of this alone, they just don't have enough funding to be able to do it. So because we are at this juncture where we have this 3-month budget and we're waiting for September, we're waiting for the July revenue numbers to come in, we're waiting for all of these pieces to come together to determine where do we fund our schools and how can we financially support them. You know, they've talked about pooling their efforts, you know, through the state, through counties, for the purchase of PPEs. So, you know, we're not alone. I mean, this is not just a New Jersey problem. This is a school-related problem throughout the country. Look, at some of our children thrived under doing learning from home, and some of them thrived. You know, we should be determining whether or not, you know, are our children better off being at home, and which ones are better off going into school, and which ones can, you know, where they can thrive. I mean, it's really, there's so many challenges in reference to the safety of our children in schools. The buses alone, the cost of busing alone is going to be exorbitant because of the number of buses that are going to have to, there aren't enough buses, there aren't enough bus drivers to be able to get our children to school. So the problem is so vast that it's a problem that we haven't solved yet. It's
Right.
not like we can say we've had a Hurricane Katrina, now we had Hurricane Sandy. We've done this before. We know this doesn't work. We can do something different. We don't have it in our playbook. And
Right.
we've got to figure out, you know, which is going to be the best thing for our children. Safety and health first. We know that, you know, it's not just the child's safety, because they could become a carrier. And as soon as they become a carrier and they go to their grandparents' home and they expose their grandparents who have an underlying health issue, that's it. So I'm very leery about what's going to happen in September for our kids.
I can imagine that some of those who are viewing this live and those who will go back and look at the YouTube later, they're going to kind of freak out just the thought that they may not be able to send their kids back. But we are in a very, we're just in a situation right now that it's uncharted waters.
It really is uncharted waters. Like I said, we don't have the playbook. And I think people are trying to do the very best they can, given the information that they have. But as we all know, the information was evolving and changing. And then as soon as we latched onto something, we heard something else. And so, you know, we're hanging on to every word of what could help, you know, our families and our children to not get exposed to COVID. And, I think that our governor has done a good job. I really do. I think that, you know, keeping us safe was his number one priority. I tugged on his heartstrings enough, you know, to do a lot of things, but, you know, I'm sure I wasn't the only one who tugged on his heartstrings to open up long-term care facilities so I could see my 97-year-old 3-time war vet father-in-law on Father's Day. You know, I think all of our offices, I think we all need to give a round of applause to all of our staff.
Oh, absolutely, right.
Round of applause for our staff. They are number one. We have some of the most dedicated staff in South Jersey. You know, uncharted waters, talk about Department of Labor working with an antiquated system that, was not so adaptable to be able to make the changes that the federal government was doing and to be able to get the money out to people who were, you know, at a rapid pace, unfortunately, losing their jobs and needed money. And the Department of Labor did not have the resources to be able to do this. If it wasn't for the staff in all of our offices who were so diligent to be able to keep the list, ask the right information, give people the right information about how to apply, how to answer the questions, people wouldn't be as far along as they are today. So our dedicated staff, who were all working from home, were very committed to our constituents, and we're extremely grateful to them for being able to be as dedicated as they are. And we're lucky. We're lucky here in South Jersey because what's really wonderful is that we all really work so well together. People don't quite understand up in North Jersey, this doesn't happen. What we're doing today doesn't always happen in North Jersey. I love my counterparts up in North Jersey. You're smiling, you're laughing, Janine. I see.
Well, I'm a South Jersey girl. I get it.
Yeah, and we get it too. And we are stronger together, just like your shirt says there, Janine. We are stronger together, unified with one cause, one purpose. And I love my Assembly sisters because we know.
Let me tell you something. I was sitting here thinking as I'm looking at each of you. Did I mute you or did you mute yourselves? You muted yourselves. So you can unmute yourselves though. We'll get a little crackling here and there, but folks will get over it. So the one thing that I'm thinking of how lucky we are to have so many women in the legislature, because I'm telling you, if we had the same amount of women in the legislature we had maybe 10 years ago, this conversation with the pandemic would be so different.
Mhm.
But it's a government with a conscience and with some empathy, and I love it. Anybody want to take that on and talk about it?
Well,
No.
when I joined the Assembly, Nilsa was the Assemblywoman in the caucus, and she embraced me, and nobody else talked to me. Remember that, Nilsa? Nobody else talked to me.
We were the only one.
To them. You had to warm up to them, and that's not the case today. It can't be. I think we're also really proud of Eliana Pinto-Moran, who chairs the budget and doing an exceptional job doing so. We're really so proud, and we were so thrilled, when Sheila was the speaker, and now, working, side by side with the governor and the lieutenant governor, and so, we've got a lot of people to be proud about, and we know as women, we're right behind them, lifting them up. So
I want to end on a good note. So we'll do the next to last thing right now and then end on a good note. Tell me about this budget. The whole is not looking good.
It is not.
Who wants to take that one?
I will start off. I know Nilsa doesn't need time to agree with it. Yeah, the cost of COVID-19 is not at all. It's not at all surprising. It's going to be humongous. We haven't yet got the numbers. We're waiting. Tomorrow we have a budget committee hearing, and we're supposed to be looking at the information tonight on the next 3 months, which we haven't seen yet. I know they're trying to work things out. This borrowing bill has been a stumbling block to make sure that, whatever we do borrow, we have to make sure that it goes to the right places and how it's going to get there. And August 25th, the treasurer comes out with her new numbers for the next for FY21, and we have to make sure that we're ready to go. But even if we borrow money, we're still going to have to cut programs. We're still going to have to make those cuts. And if we go back to the school funding, what was proposed in the governor's budget address in February is not what they're going to get now. They're all decreased. They're not happy about it. My one district, Lampitt School District, they're getting cut, over $100,000 more than what they were when the original budget came out. So, and I know the senator can definitely expand upon this from what she's hearing in the Senate, but I think we're basically on the same page that, until we see what the final cost of COVID-19, I'll be honest with you, for us to be able to do FY21, I think it's going to be, still something that's going to be sporadic. And Janine, when we opened up and we talked a little bit, you're absolutely right. What we thought was going to be an easy budget as a caucus to do, and on a budget committee, the whole doors just blew open with this. At least that's how I see it.
So, Senator, come on, depress me more. Let's hear it.
I agree 100% with Assemblywoman. She's right on target. We're going to be voting coming up next week, early next week, on a bill that will put the budget for 3 months. But in that proposed legislation doesn't have any aid for any of the programs that we currently are running. I have many concerns about not funding some of the programs, because some of the programs are actually helping people who are facing COVID-19 issues. In many programs are helping people, but there's certain programs that are running that are helping population that are facing COVID-19 issues, and they're being released from jail. Some of the programs of reentry programs, people that are being early released from jail that need those wraparound services so they can be able to integrate back to the community. And those programs, if we don't fund them in the next 3 months, they're going to have to stop the program for 3 months. So what's going to happen to the people? So there's a lot of discussions that need to happen. We're going to see what's going to happen, and the budget is going to be interesting. Like Assemblywoman is right on target. We thought it was going to be an easy budget. It's not going to be an easy budget because we have COVID-19 and everything is upside down. We're going to be facing many challenges. Many programs are going to face the consequences, but we got to think of the people who need to receive some service, and service are necessary for some people to be able to be safe in our community. So it's going to be a tough, interesting budget.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know you all have your jobs really just cut out for you. I thank you for your service as public servant. I thank you for coming on here. I definitely want you to come back again. But I was so excited about being able to do a show with just my blue South Jersey women. It made my night. You have any final words you want to say? Pam, we'll start with you since you're up there at the top.
Well, first of all, thank you, Janine. You're always you speak the truth. You act honorably and with the highest sort of morals, and to, be in your company, to be your friend, is the highest level of honor for me. Really. I think in this day and time, there's a book that I started to read, and I'm trying to pass it on to people because I really want to start a movement. It's called Humankind. And actually the proceeds of the book go to a lot of people in Camden. And it's little snippets of things that we should be doing as human beings, to be kind to one another, to make a difference in everybody's lives. And you never know that little thing that you do for somebody, how meaningful it really is. And I hope people will get this book. And it's an easy read. And I hope you find that little snippet that really then motivates you, maybe to hold the door or pay it forward to somebody, buy somebody's coffee, or make that donation that you forgot to do to South Jersey Food Bank, or to the Samaritan Hospice, or to Hope Works, or to any one of my number of favorite places. But do it. Don't wait. Be kind and be thoughtful. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Carol?
First of all, thank you, Janine, and thank you to my colleagues for this. This is great. I always get my leads when they talk first because they have much more experience than I do. But I want to say this, and hopefully this gives ourselves and our colleagues a little bit more emphasis. Because so presently I serve as the Democratic State Director for the National Foundation for Women Legislators out of DC. And I have to tell you, no matter how hard we have it here in New Jersey, I always find myself saying to my fellow colleagues in other states that, you know what, we did that. We've done that. We're going forward. And we've already passed that. And I have to tell you, working with my colleagues that are on this call with us, along with my other female friends in the Assembly on both sides of the aisle, and including my male counterparts, this year, one thing COVID-19 has done for us all, I think we have shown the ability to work together. We have shown the ability that we disagree on the way things need to be handled. We don't disagree on the important things and what needs to get done. And we're able to make those compromises. We're able to work together for the common good of New Jersey. And I hope that once we get into the new normal, whatever that new normal ends up being, because I think what we see now is not what we're going to see a few weeks from now, or even a month from now, or even several months from now. I'm hoping that one thing we are able to take back, and I can take back to my fellow colleagues in other states, and that is that we work together to make this happen and be able to show those colleagues, especially our DC federal that are out in New Jersey, that we're able to work together despite our differences in parties. And I think that's one thing that we as legislators here in New Jersey have done a great job at working together in this COVID-19 issues. And we've taken that camaraderie and making this a stronger legislative body unit at this time to make things go forward. And I applaud each and every one of them, and I applaud all of my blue women in South Jersey for their kindness and their support when and then welcoming me on board when I first started. And I thank you all. Janine, I thank you so much. I love seeing you in Trenton, and I love the fact that you even know who I am. So.
Are you kidding? We got a relationship going on now.
Like, she knows who I am. I was so excited about that. But thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on to this show. I really appreciate it. And now we have my Madam Mommy, who I like to call her, Gabby. Any parting words you want to give us today?
Yeah. So thank you, Janine, for having me and having all of us. And I just wanted to say thank you for highlighting us, women of the South Jersey. We are part of a great delegation, and we rely on each other. We are family, and we are strong women that that put forth the families of the state in our forefront, and our minds are we're always thinking about the families and the children of the state. And it's an honor to be serving with these women, my colleagues, and who are in their own individual way are brilliant, extraordinary, strong women, and I am very fortunate to call them all my friends. So I just want to say thank you for having all of us, and it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve not only the people of the state of New Jersey, but being with them because I know I can rely on them, and they are fantastic individuals.
Thank you. Darn it, why am I tearing up? Thank you. Oh, so our senator, come on.
Janine, thank you. It's always a pleasure to be in your presence via Zoom, in person, on the phone. I love you. I appreciate you. You have no idea how much I appreciate your input and your wisdom. I just want to tell one thing to my sister legislators. We are family. I remember back in '95 when I was the only woman in the South Jersey region to be a legislator, and now to be among 5 fantastic legislators in South Jersey is awesome. We need more. And it's a blessing. But I just want to tell to the people who are going to be watching the show that to please, because we reopened, that doesn't mean that COVID-19 has gone anywhere. It's here. Let's be smart about it. Keep social distance, keep washing your hands, and please, please, please use your mask. Mask is not about politics. Mask is about using a mask. It's about safety and health. Let's be smart about protect yourself and protect your family members and your community. So let's be smart about it. Thank you so much for inviting us to the show. God bless you guys.
Thank you. And I do want to say that we are going to have your fifth sister on. She had a conflict tonight, Dawn, but I was so excited when she said, I really want to come on, but I can't come on tonight. So we will make sure we have all of you back again. So, Senator, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it and I love you. Assemblywoman Mosquera, thank you so much for coming. I love you as well. I know who Carol Murphy is. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And Pam, thank you for what you've done for my grandson. I love you so much. And now that you're a grandmom, I know that you are in your world.
You're going to reciprocate, right? Is that it?
That's it. Well, I'll be 100 years old by the time they grow up. But thank you so much for coming. I love you guys. And so, audience, there you have it. Those are the magnificent blue women of the South. And you see, we have such quality people down there. Now, we're going to bring the guys on one day. But right now, I'm just concerned about my blue women. And so we thank you for chiming in on this program today. Make it a good one and stay safe.